Oi, oi, all right, how's it going? I'm Grant, or you, and this is Doodle Review, the channel that's willing to talk about any genre from breakbeat to snake speak, boogie woogie to biker bar bangra. Today we're talking about Animal Collective. Animal Collective are a psychedelic art pop project formed in the late 90s with their first record, Spirit They're Gone, Spirit They Vanished, released in 2000. Since then, the group, literally a collective of the musicians Avi Tare, Panda Bear, Geologist and Deakin, the group has released a dearth of material across albums, EPs, visual projects and more. And Isn't It Now is the group's 12th official studio album, and for me, actually the first ever Animal Collective release that I've sat all the way through. I've been aware of this project, this band, for some time. You know, when their record Merryweather Post Pavilion came out in 2009, they were hailed as the second coming by outlets such as Pitchfork and became very much the hipster it band of the moment. At that time, and to this day really, I always leant more towards the Atlanta-based Deer Hunter for my experimental shoegaze, krautrock, indie pop fusion, being drawn to the punk spirit of their leader Bradford Cox over the hipster cool, or what I perceive to be the hipster cool of Animal Collective. Listening to Isn't It Now, I find it interesting that while I obviously don't know the back catalogue of Animal Collective and how close or how far this is from their previous releases, stylistically this doesn't sound a million miles away from what I imagine a Deer Hunter record might sound like in 2023, you know, based on the music they were putting out towards the end of their run. While that comparison might lead you to believe that I'd look upon this record fondly, I have definitely found it a bit of a struggle. If you followed my reviews before, you'll see a common thread that I do tend to struggle with long, expansive songs, of which this album has a fair few. Now, before I get into the examples presented here, I just want to say for the record that I don't just outright dislike long songs across the board, but I do feel like on an album, every moment, every repetition, every new movement needs to earn its place. To me, there's very much a stark difference between live performance and studio recordings, and in a live setting, there is real magic in a band expanding songs and letting parts breathe and seeing the performers indulge themselves with solos or exploratory meandering, because it's all part of a collective experience. But a studio album, in my opinion, should be a document of the most refined version of the pieces included within. And, you know, if that is a 10, 20 or 30 minute track, then awesome. It very often isn't though. Isn't It Now contains a 7-minute, a 9-minute and a 21-minute song within its 9-track, 70-minute runtime, and I'm not sure any of them, particularly Defeat, really earns its place at that length, and it just led me to become really disengaged across the many listens I gave this project. Genie's Open is the first of the longer pieces. It has a bouncy, krautrock, repetitive feel that slowly modulates over time. It's effectively a song with two distinct sections. The first, a slow build, and the second, Sea of Light part that has a more traditional 4/4 beat. As the longer songs go on the album, it is probably the best, as the transition, when it does eventually come, is quite gratifying. It does, however, squander the potential for an actual climax by just kind of ending after all the minutes and minutes and minutes of tension building. Having this song also be the second in the running order just seems completely odd. You know, it's barely providing the audience with an introduction into the record's world before launching into this patience testing piece. The next of the expanded pieces is the track Magicians from Baltimore, and this song begins in a very mystical place with lots of sitars and finger cymbals reminding me of 70s psychedelic groups like Gong. While this isn't my thing in general, I do enjoy the way this mysticism gives way and keeps returning to a kind of slow motion, heavy bass driven part. That aspect actually touches on a sound I'd associate with a group like Secret Machines. The song soon pisses away any trace of coolness though by evolving into a kind of old-timey piano track that seems to find its way to an almost fairground ride in its closing moments. And then we jump into Defeat, the longest and most egregious example of this untamed musical navel gazing on the record, a 21-minute piece in the middle of this track list. The track starts with a return to that drony psychedelic gong sound, and it's not inherently bad, it's just this first phase of the track does not need to be 9 minutes long. It becomes dull the more the progression repeats, and sonically is just a replica of what we've already just heard on Magicians in Baltimore. After some chanting, the track finally breaks into a new section, the crawling from the serpent part at about 10 minutes in. It is satisfying just to hear something else, but again, even this starts to get repetitive by not building or adding anything each time the refrain turns around. As a way of almost punishing the listener for their ungrateful reaction to that segment though, we return to another long form droning ambient section, which takes us the next 10 minutes to the close of the track. There are some moments that are vocally interesting when the title of the album comes up, but at this point I'm very nearly tapped out of the record altogether. Fortunately, at this point, almost sensing the exasperation, there is a switching of the gears with Gemini, a short and catchy number with some interesting vocal production. It's actually highly enjoyable and feels like a real jolt after the dirge of the prior track and the first half of the record really. This is followed up by a beautiful and almost regal sounding ballad called Stride Right, which is the best song on the album to my mind. This is the sole lead vocal contribution from Deakin, and it had me double taking with each listen, thinking I'd somehow shuffled onto a Father John Misty track, offering similar production approaches to the voice that really suit this great track. After that little capsule though, that little oasis of captivating and interesting songs though, we're back to reality with a jaunty and awkward track, All the Clubs Are Broken, and then the vocal chanting King's Walk, which to me sounds like the group doing a version of like traditional South African isicathamiya singing, which is just uncomfortable. Animal Collective strike me as a group with a lot of lore and legend surrounding them, something that must be really fun to dive into as a fan and will no doubt increase the enjoyment of an experimental ambient record like Isn't It Now. But for someone, you know, very much on the outside like me, this was not the record that is going to spark a deep dive into their back catalogue. Despite the few tracks that I liked, this was a really hard listen for the most part, and I'd give it a 4 out of 10. Thanks for listening to me chat fraff about the record though. However, nothing in this world does come for free. You do need to pay a price, and that price is, you just got to press subscribe, write a comment, tell me you hate me or the album review, or that you like it in the comments. Do it. Show some love, share some thoughts, or just hail some of that abuse in the comments below. That's what they're there for. There are also some other links to other videos in the description that you might well like, so just check them out. Okay, cheers mate, bye.